At the beginning of November, I walked into the office like every single day, and I was just going to go back to work after 1.5 weeks of vacation. I enjoyed myself, was all refreshed and all relaxed, and was ready to give it another shot. When I walked into the office, I was asking like, "Hey, I've been gone for 1.5 weeks. Can you bring me up to speed? What can I do? This and that." And they're like, "Yeah, no, just go and sit at your place. We'll get back to you in a bit." It's like, okay, that's fine. They might be busy in the middle of something. That's cool. But then as the day went on and on and on, I noticed that there was a very little amount of things that I was allowed to do. And I was like, okay, I'm getting a bad feeling about this one. And of course, later down that afternoon, my feeling was, confirmed, because after a 2.5 hour conversation basically telling me everything that I'd apparently did wrong in the last 4.5 years, I was told to sign this little piece of paper, which essentially told me that I was a goner. The sad part of the whole thing is that I worked at the place for 4.5 years, and to my belief, the only reason why I was ever fired is because I was the only one that had an actual contract, and the rest was all temporary. Thus meaning that the last guy was out the door with an actual set contract and not a temporary one, so they couldn't get rid of me after like 1.5 years without any hassle. So for that reason, I was basically out of the door. The conversation of 2.5 hours where I was essentially told, "Hey, here's a bunch of feedback," and I spent 2.5 hours also telling my former employer that I was going to do better and I'm always open to feedback, which, I mean, that's me. If you tell me, "Hey, if you could do this and this, I think it would be better," I always take feedback, consider it, and then apply it where necessary. Unfortunately, though, after 2.5 hours of reassuring my boss, I was taking his feedback serious and was going to do my best to improve. I was told, "Hey, oh, by the way, sign this." I literally told the man, "Why did we sit here for 2.5 hours to have a conversation about everything that I'm supposedly done wrong, and then also going back to like 4.5 years of when I did something wrong? Why are we having this conversation when all you were going to do is hand me my notice anyway? So what the fuck is the point?" As you can tell, still a little bit upset about that one, but of course, I was thrown out the door with 2 weeks of salary, which I later found out that they gave me one less middle finger before I went out the door, because legally they were supposed to give me 2 months of pay, which I inevitably got because I sought legal advice after my parents told me like, "Hey, you've been screwed." So I called them up, like, "Hey, this is probably not right." And then those legal guys told me, "Yes, that's not right, and you're also owed like thousands upon thousands of euros if you were to fight it." But it seems that the last part I didn't really go through with, because apparently it takes years and thousands of euros to even try to get to that point, because obviously they're gonna fight it because they'd rather drive their expensive sports cars than actually pay their fucking employees. So after 4.5 years of being horribly underpaid, it was my time to leave the company, and it was then time to try and find a new adventure. At age 25, my only experience with ever finding a job was rolling into one by doing an internship at that same company for like a few years, and then just worked there for 4.5 years, and then that was kind of it. When moving out of college, one of my biggest fears was the fact that, hey, what am I going to do after I leave school? Because I had no idea, I had no real experience with actually finding a full-time job, and for what I can tell by Josh, who was currently going through the same thing, it's not a good time at all. It's a miserable experience because you got no work experience. The only thing you got to your name is a diploma, and you're gonna have to find a company who's gonna have enough faith in that diploma of yours in order to give you a chance. Good fucking luck. So yeah, age 25, out of a job, I got my own house, I got many bills to pay. So in a way, it was kind of panic mode, but at the same time, a blessing in disguise, because November, December, horrible to find a job. I'm getting 2 months pay, so I might as well just go and see what this YouTube and Twitch thing is all about. Later down the line, of course, in December, we had 2 DLCs for both Red Dead and for GTA. Red Dead not being as much of a success, but GTA, on the other hand, I had the best month in terms of everything on YouTube, thus meaning that I was like, hey, this is quite good. Maybe I can try and see what this thing is all about. obviously coming into January, which is notorious for being terrible in terms of ad revenue. And yes, there's going to be a bit of talk about money here because guess what? Unfortunately, that's how you're going to pay bills. It was a bit of a conflicted feeling at the time because I didn't necessarily want to start doing YouTube and Twitch for money because it didn't feel like that was the right thing for me to do. And sure, I always did YouTube on the side and obviously earned some pennies with that too, but it was always just something that was on the side and, didn't really need it in order to pay the bills. It was just something that I could use to buy some extra stuff for the stream and all that things. But now it was basically my primary income. But for that reason, since YouTube and Twitch is not really a reliable source of income, I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna go find a part-time job so I can do YouTube and Twitch part-time, as well as just having a part-time job, which will be able to pay the bills. Now, through searching, I found a place which was something that I was like, okay, this sounds like a pretty good place to work. I applied there. They had this thing where, hey, what about you go and work for free for 4 days, and then we'll see if we like you enough so we can give you a trial period of a month, and if we like you enough, then we'll give you a contract. But unfortunately for that company, after a couple of hours, I realized that this company was basically a carbon copy of the previous employee that I worked at, thus giving me nasty flashbacks, which I didn't want to have. So for that reason, I was like, you know what, folks, it's been about 5-6 hours. I don't think I'm gonna go and finish today. This is a waste of time. It's been real. I'll see you. Goodbye. And then I just fucked off home and then went to go back to doing YouTube and Twitch again. So in reality, essentially ever since November, I've basically gone full time. And for that reason, I felt it was also interesting to kind of share my story because it's a bit of a conflicted thing. I'm finally doing the one thing that I love and I have a great passion for, but at the same time, I feel a lot of guilt because it should kind of be illegal to have this much fun and be able to pay your bills. In a way, it's also a form of uncertainty and also a bit of an adjustment period because for the last few months it's been kind of a weird one, primarily because I really feel that while I finally am doing what I love, at the same time, I feel like this might be too good to be true in a way, and at the same time also kind of missing out on the social interaction that I had when I still had a full-time job. It might sound very glorious being self-employed and doing YouTube and Twitch and quote-unquote playing video games all day, but unfortunately the downside of that is that if you're like myself, which in real life doesn't have an awful lot of friends, with that I mean none at all, it really kind of comes down to having to find the right balance because I don't really have any friends. Twitch is basically gonna be my social interaction type of thing, thus also making me want to stream more, but if I stream too much then the quality of the stream goes down, etc, etc. So it's been a really tough yet interesting experience to try to find a balance between work and life, because if you're like, for example, in a traditional job where you don't do YouTube and Twitch, you just come home, you turn on your TV, you start playing your games, or you're just watching some Netflix. Meanwhile, in the situation where I'm currently in, I'm in the same room doing both my quote-unquote relaxation time as well as the work itself. So for that reason, for example, earlier this week, or last week actually, I started to use the living room more often versus being in the same room. And for that reason, I also started feeling a little bit more relaxed and a lot more energized versus having to always sit in the same room and doing the same thing. Being self-employed is a bit of a weird one because while you're giving up your security from your traditional job, if you want to call it that, at the same time, you also get a lot more freedom because, for example, right now, it's 11 a.m. at the time of recording this, and a few hours ago was in the gym. Like, that's something that you can really do with a traditional job unless you get up earlier because, your boss expects you to be in the office at 9 a.m. and, you kind of have to stay there until it's like your usual 5 p.m. and then you can go home. Meanwhile, from my perspective, doing YouTube and Twitch, I can kind of just make my own hours. I can decide to spend another hour into a video trying to get some stupid image on the TV screen inside of the Rockstar editor so I can make some stupid gag about Max Verstappen. Or I can also decide to just try to do it within Sony Vegas. It might look a little bit more crappy, but it is a lot more time safe. Unfortunately for myself, I'm a bit of a perfectionist in that regard, and I spend like a better part of 1 to 2 hours trying to fix my game from crashing, and actually also doing the thing that I wanted it to do. But at the same time, it was also a new investment within myself as a creator. Thus, next time, if I wanted to do something like that, I know exactly what to do, and it will be a whole lot easier. It's things like that that make it a lot more exciting to do your own thing, because if you put more effort and you're learning to perfect your own craft, you're benefiting from it yourself. If you go to a traditional job like I was doing for 4.5 years, if I put in extra effort at the end of the month, I'm not the one benefiting from it. It's my boss who is going to take all the rewards from it. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that this is for every single job out there. There's definitely much better employers out there, and I'm convinced that if you're working for a good boss, he will also give you good rewards, and it will make you feel like you actually did something good. Unfortunately, the only time I ever heard something from my boss is when I did something wrong, and well, it's, basically rubbing it in like, hi, look at me, I have a great car and I'm very rich, and you are someone who I'm underpaying. So a quick side note, if you're in that situation, do yourself a favor and find a better job. Those assholes are not worth your time. But funny enough, because I was criminally underpaid for 4.5 years, I have just learned to live with that certain amount of money to live off every month, thus making it a whole lot easier to make the transition into YouTube and Twitch, because you probably want to earn roughly the same amounts and then you will be okay. Now, of course, this being January and February is not really much of an indication of how long I will be able to do this, but at the current time, I can kind of say I have gone full time with YouTube and Twitch, which in a way is kind of weird because it didn't really necessarily was a choice that I made myself, but someone else made that choice for me. It's been a blessing in disguise, but at the same time, it's been a very conflicted one. I've been, in a way, kind of struggling with adjusting to this quote-unquote new lifestyle. I had a period of time where I felt actually guilty talking about the fact that I am doing YouTube and Twitch full time, and the fact that I'm earning money with the thing that I'm doing right now. It's a weird one, but if there's someone I really have to thank for basically, knocking some sense in my head, it's going to be Bunny. Without her, I wouldn't really sit here and, feel so comfortable about saying like, hey guys, I'm doing this full time with YouTube and Twitch now. It's my body of work. YouTube and Twitch are the two channels that I've built over the last few years, and it seems that after all that time I'm finally reaping the rewards from it, and it might have been a very big coincidence. The timing of it probably couldn't have been better. I'm still reaping the rewards from the success I had in December, and hopefully that's going to continue on for a little while, and I can ride this wave and see how well the channel is going to continue on doing. 100k is projected to be hit in June, so that's going to be a pretty exciting one. Hopefully the channel will continue to grow and continue to do well. Obviously, being a GTA Online channel primarily, it's really going to rely on how much DLCs and how much stuff is still going to be released for both GTA and Red Dead. Obviously, Red Dead being in a place where, let's just not talk about it. But GTA Online, still really enjoying the content that I'm making with it. I kind of pride myself in the fact that I don't just simply do one thing. There's a little bit of everything. And I hope that you guys will continue to enjoy that. Obviously, if you haven't already, please do check out some Twitch streams sometimes. I have some good times on there too. I don't only stream GTA on there. I try to stream some other games there too. So if you're interested, please do check it out. Don't stop watching my videos, please, or else I actually have to go find a job, which, I don't know. This YouTube and Twitch stuff is kind of fun, so I think I want to keep doing that for a little while longer. But either way, that was it for this relatively long ramble. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to do some additional support things to keep the channel afloat, there's some links in the description down below to subscribe with Twitch Prime or with the YouTube member thing that I've recently set up. I'm going to start utilizing that a lot more when there's more people in there, because I feel like if I'm going to just shout out one person, it's kind of feels a little bit awkward. But either way, I do want to thank this wonderful man called Nerd Blaster for being a level 3 supporter. I do appreciate it, good sir. But with all that said and with all that done, that was it for this one. Thank you all so very much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, and I'll see you all later.